Hey, what's going on, guys? Xbox Online Channel, host Sick of Ever here. I know two podcasts in a row. It's very rare for me. Um, but I'm sitting here at my desk with really nothing else to do. And so I decided to go live. Saw that Unlimited had a podcast earlier. I need to check that one out. I was actually going to do that, but as I sat here, I thought, it would be a great idea. Since he was doing a review of his games, I believe it was digital. I kind of jumped in at the end there. And I thought, it'd be kind of cool if I just talk about 2023 and the year that Xbox had. I know a couple of the guys will be doing podcasts throughout the year, or do a podcast probably this week or next week talking about the year 2023 and what to look up in 2024. If any of the guys wanted to jump in, I'll definitely do that. I'm just doing this real quick because I'm trying to get my back straight. And the chair that I use is actually in my office area. So I was going to plan on just sitting here. And I was trying to actually set up my controller, man, but I'm having a problem with my Bluetooth. So I was actually wanting to get some gaming in because that's the kind of sad thing about. If you guys didn't know, man, I have like issues with my back. So the kind of sad thing is, even when I'm here, trying to recuperate, man, I can't play games because I can't sit up. Right. For those of you guys who have back problems, you understand what I'm talking about. Man. It involves like spinal stuff, lower back. Surprisingly, which I found out after going to a chiropractor, your hips and actually your butt also is influenced by that, as well as your spine when you have pinched nerves and stuff. So yeah, man, I was just sitting here. I was like, it'd be cool if I just do a podcast, kill some time. I'm trying to get my back straight before it is Christmas, man. So I got some family that's gonna stop by because they're visiting from the mainland. It's one of my cousins I haven't seen in like forever. So hopefully, yeah. I mean, I feel bad that I'm not feeling well, but I haven't seen this dude in years, and it's my little cousin. Kind of grew up with him and stuff, and yeah, I just wanted to see them, make sure they're doing well. Hopefully, I can go to my dad's house tomorrow. I don't know if that's gonna happen. We just take it day by day, man. If you guys have back problems, you know what I'm talking about. But hold on one second. Let me see. Let me get this stuff up and running, just in case anybody wants to drop in. Yeah, I don't expect a lot. I don't. I actually, I don't. I don't even know if people are gonna listen to the podcast live because I'm doing it at such an off time for myself and my channel, as well as the fact that this is the day before Christmas. So I know a lot of you guys are probably busy running around getting stuff ready. Um, like I said, man, my back's been so bad the last couple of days that I haven't been able to do anything. I tried. I was playing a bit of games last night, man, but after a while I had to stop because I can't. I couldn't continue. Um, I know some people, man. I watch my kids sometimes. They're like laying down playing games and stuff. I can't do that. Maybe because I'm old school. Plus, I was playing Warhammer, so with that game, man, you play. I'm playing online with other people, and I wanted to try out some other weapons and stuff like that. And I know people ask me, "Well, why do you play Warhammer so much?" I mean, within the game itself, you guys play it. I'm trying to level up my characters, and I got it right up to level 30. But what I'm trying to do now is trying to find different builds. And I'm trying to do it on my own. I've gone online and looked at some of the builds that people have made for their characters as well as their weapons. So there's a lot of depth to the game, especially if you're into the Warhammer universe. And I don't even consider myself like a hardcore Warhammer fan. I mean, I've seen some of the stories, but I don't play the board game at all. I had a friend of mine that he didn't play the board game, but what he did is he painted the figures. Man, that's a whole nother culture within that, and that was years ago. And I've only recently got into it because of the video games, mostly Vermintide, and then playing some of their single player stuff. I know I'm looking forward to the new Warhammer game coming out. I'm not really an RTS guy. That's the thing, right? Because RTSs, I think they're cool. The problem I have with RTSs is the same reason why I don't like simulation racers. As I am not, I don't like to think too much sometimes. A lot of times when I'm playing games now, especially at my age, guys, it's just to relax and escape. Um, you work all day, you got stuff that you got to take care of, stuff you got to focus on. So when it comes to my gaming, I really don't like to do that anymore. Back in the day, of course, when I had energy and time to spare, unfortunately, back then you didn't have the money. At least I didn't. To indulge this hobby the way I want to. Now it's flipped over, right? So I say it on Twitter all the time. If you guys follow me on there, that if I could, man, I would retire and just play Game Pass, and not just Game Pass. I would do other stuff too. You have to work every day, but I can see the value of retirement now. But I would do that, man, and then that give me more time to do the things that I love to do. And Game Pass would definitely be on the list. That's how good it is. And just keep in mind, guys, I'm a gamer, right? Old school gamer through and through, which means that I like games. I usually like a variety of games, different genres. And when you're a gamer like myself, this is why I love Game Pass so much, and I put it up all the time. Um, Pretty much on a pedestal, man. Because if you're a gamer like I am, you can't ignore the value on top of the variety. And for me, it's more the variety than the value because I would pay probably $30 a month to keep Game Pass. I know there's a lot of people arguing about Game Pass going up. Just keep in mind, a lot of these people. I know I say this a lot on my channel. Nobody really knows. Even myself, guys. When I talk about this kind of stuff, dude, it's just from information I've gathered or gleaned off of the internet. For all the crap I give the gaming media, that's the only outlet, which is one of the reasons why I give them a lot of hate. Hey, what's up, Faded? Welcome to the show, man. I'm sitting here trying to recuperate, man, and I thought I'd do a podcast, help me pass the time, just to get my mind. Actually, if I'm being honest, man, sometimes you do this kind of stuff to get your mind off the pain. I would do that, and what I would do is play video games, man. But my back's so bad that I like to sit up when I play, and I can't do that now. And that's the sad part, dude. I've been off since like Thursday. I had to take leave to get for my appointment, and that's when they reset my back. And see, the problem is I didn't know that they're going to do that. They're going to reset my back, and I understood why. After the guy talked to me and stuff like that. It's not that I don't trust them, and these guys have done a lot for me to get me to recover, get me to at least a decent um, and better way of life. If I'm being honest, man, because sometimes my back would be so bad I couldn't even stand up. So I definitely follow all the stuff that they say. I just wasn't expecting it. And so when they did that, when I left, it was fine. I felt good actually. I was like, oh, maybe this won't be so bad. But when I was driving home, and as soon as I got home, a couple hours later, dude, I just anybody with back problems know you start getting that tightening feeling, and it was all over, man. It was bad. Then you gotta go. Then I gotta go through my processes, and I felt bad because one of the things I have to do is I have to keep on switching positions. When I lay down, I have to stand up. I have to. It's not just you just recuperating in a bed, and so I can't play games, man. That sucks because I was off on Friday, Saturday, today, and I'm still having pains in my back. But it's better than Friday, and it's definitely better than Saturday. So I'm definitely this is why I'm doing it because I'm sitting in this chair. This one chair, man. It's like a Papasan chair. I bought it just because it was cheap, but it was probably the best thing I bought. I didn't realize what a great chair. There's a lot of now that I've gone back and looked at it because I was looking for other chairs. They don't make this chair anymore, man. And in fact, the leather on this is fading, man. But I'm gonna keep this chair as long as I can, dude, because it fits me perfectly. And it basically, when I sit in it, that lumbar support is perfect for my back, the way it curves in. So it feels good actually when I sit in. That's why I did the podcast for so long. You should. Funny story: Sony just shut down a PSVR studio days after Microsoft added Game Pass to the Meta Quest. Yeah, they're in trouble, Faded. They're in trouble, man. I know a lot of people don't want to admit that. There's a lot of people online um, that don't want to admit it. They're also, and you know that they know that if they're in trouble because they get very defensive. If you see how toxic they are online, and how quick they are to just throw out any type of garbage that's out there, trying to defend their console. And then the sad part about it, we talked about this yesterday, is the media is also getting exposed, which is good. They need to be exposed. A lot of people sit there and goes, "No, the media is not favoritism. It's not. Number one, it is, but in some aspects, it's just not media bias in the sense of fighting for Sony. It's that they're so inundated and in the Sony ecosystem or Sony console, Sony brand. That's why I always call Sony guys brand players. If you guys remember what happened with the Spider-Man leak and how it shows that these guys don't buy games, man. They don't support their stuff. Not on the level that, for as much as they talk about how great Sony is and how great the games are, they don't back it up. And that's why I call them brand gamers, guys. I call them brand gamers because they're all about the Sony brand. It's just like any other brand that a fan base likes, but they don't buy it. They just like the brand, the name of the brand. These guys love the console war. For all the people that are in the middle that don't like the console war and you see it both sides went away. It's like Xbox guys do not do that. Like I've said for years on my channel, it's just Xbox guys are more reactionary. It's the Sony guys that actually initiate most of the console war stuff. Right? and that shows their lack of credibility. Because if your console truly is number one, you don't have to sit there and defend it all the time. Like, I don't sit here and defend Microsoft and their money. I pointed out that they have money, right? Because that's the one thing that keeps them in play. For a lot of people that want them to go away. Or for a lot of them, they keep on saying that this is Microsoft's last console. Microsoft is losing money. They're in third place. Dude, they're $1 trillion company that now supports their brand. And that's probably the worst thing for the Sony guys that came out of all this console war stuff. They just talk so much trash that Microsoft took them seriously. And that's their own fault, because Microsoft was not. Xbox was a brand, was like just one of their many properties that they looked at, but they never really went all in with it. And then Phil Spencer gets hired, Satya Nadella becomes a CEO, and they start looking at the potential that video games have as far as the type of impact and influence it can have as Microsoft as a corporation, right? This is why you got the Xbox One back in 2013, and the reason why I say that is because that's why I bought my Xbox. You guys know I'm a Sega fan. Dreamcast went away. I was a multi-console person because I was trying to get all the Sega games because that's what I played the most, right? And then Sega, even after the console went away, which is bad, then the IP started to change because a lot of these people that was pushing Sega to go third party didn't support them. This is how I know that these guys don't buy games. And this is back in, was it the early 2000s, right? You saw that, man. These guys are not gamers. And I've told you the story how, that I believe a lot of these guys are bro gamers that came on for the PlayStation, because the people that I were friends with, man, they never played games. And when they jumped on board, it's because it mattered. Or a lot of people played Final Fantasy, right? Like that. So, yeah, dude, I've been in this game for a long time. So, and it's not even, dude, just if you've been in gaming as long as I have, and you learn how to read the tea leaves. So, but for me personally, dude, this is why it's funny in 2023. We talked about this yesterday, but I think it bears repeating, is that 2023 is turning into 2013 all over again, and Microsoft is going to lead that way. It's almost like they're taking that mantle back after 10 years of getting all the hate and bias reporting, the hate from the Sony fans, hate from and I include Sony fans in there. I know there's the Pony faction and there's the Sony fans, because Sony fans don't. They're happy with it. Just because you don't say anything, man, I think you're complicit. And now, because they have been that way, man, and never stood up to the toxic people on their side, man, they run the risk of going out of business. That's what I'm looking towards. Both intellectually, right? If you just look at it honestly, analytically, it looks like their days are numbered. And personally, you guys know how I feel about Sony. If they went away, I wouldn't cry a tear. I'd be happy, to be honest with you. And I have gamers or so-called gamers coming to me, and if you're a gamer, you shouldn't celebrate that. I was like, dude, companies have come and gone. I remember Atari was dominating this industry. I remember when Nintendo came in and people thought that was a joke. I remember when PlayStation came in and kind of made it cool because it was all about DVDs and movies. So you guys don't understand what type of company Sony was back in the 90s. I know a lot of their fans don't know it for any amount of their own history, because I talked to them. When you argue with them online, they don't even know the history of their own company that they put up there. Sorry about the background noise. My neighbors are cutting the grass, which is kind of funny because the grass is so small. And I grew up in the mainland, guys, not here. So having like a land in Hawaii is very, it's not, we don't have big yards. I'll just put it to you that way. And the places that have big yards are usually in the country. And so, but in the mainland, right, there's so much space. But in Hawaii, we're very limited in space. So it's almost a privilege to have a big yard. But I laugh because every time my neighbors cut their yard, it takes them forever. I used to help my friend, man. My friend owned a farm, and I'm talking a farm with acres, man. And he used to have to cut the grass, and he didn't have a riding mower, dude. He had to push more. So I go hang out with them, man, and then I help him. And he would cut his own yard, and then there's 7 other farms in the area. And when I mean farms, man, I'm not talking, they're like miles away. And then he'd go, that's how he made his money to buy his comic books, dude. And this dude was the man. He had the entire Uncanny X-Men collection, Giant Size X-Men #1, Uncanny X-Men 94, all the way up until, like, I think 200. Uncanny X-Men 200. And I don't know then some, but then we kind of fell off because he met a girl, and that was the end of that. So, You gotta be careful, man. These girls will put the whammy on you. Sorry, guys. I'll get back on the chat. Faded. Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me, Faded, that they closed another studio. I saw that people were bringing up the EA stuff again. The Sony guys and other studio purchases that they want to make, even though they're having so much problems with Bungie right now that they're shutting down all their studios. This is what I'm talking about. This is the denseness of the Sony fandom, and I say the entire Sony fandom, man, because this is what they run with. They get so much favorable news, and then they have their sycophants that go out there and push all this crap online because they dominate social media, right? And then that their consumers and fans run with it as well, and then this is what happens, right? Like you said, Faded, they shut down a PSVR studio. And for some of these guys that have Sony stuff, they won't even know until they actually go try and buy something, and they're like, "Oh wow, how come there's not a lot of games coming out?" Then they'll realize what happened a couple months from now. By that time, Microsoft should be dominating. We'll talk about that too. 2024 should be huge, super huge for Xbox, man. If you're an Xbox guy, especially if you bleed green like I do, you're gonna enjoy 2024. I mean, the outside. I'm talking about in video games. Everything else that's going on in the world aside, I'm just talking about video games. Who knows where we'll be in 2024? Um, Database. They don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that their platform is supported by the casual gamer. Yeah, exactly. Right. And the funny thing is, it's just like anything they do, man. They'll acknowledge it kind of offhand, right? Because they always talk about the numbers and how much consoles they sell, which I don't believe any of that, dude. I mean, especially after the leaks, dude. If you're on the Xbox side, if you're a pony bot, I'll just put it to you that way. And the Spider-Man leaks doesn't at least raise some bit of doubt in your mind, because pony bots are just as bad as Sony fans, and to some extent the toxic guys, the ponies, right? Because they'll utilize whatever they need to utilize to win an argument. The problem with that is when all of the information gets exposed, like it's what's happening now, dude, and um, they can't weaponize it, right? They get exposed and they. Um, oh, sorry, guys, I stopped the joking. But they get exposed, right? And the casual gamer is. It's like they're. It's like a two-edged sword for these guys, right? It's helping them now, but it's gonna hurt them later. Because the thing with casual gamers is they really don't support. It's just like what the MCU is going through right now, right? The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Right? Disney Marvel decided to kind of shun their true fans, starting to go with the casual market. And the problem is they built a fandom within that casual market that doesn't like what they're doing either. So they're losing on both fronts. That's what's going to happen with PlayStation. That's why the AKB deal as far as Call of Duty. Um, For me personally, I told you guys I'll be straight up 100 that I want Call of Duty to be exclusive to Xbox, because I feel strongly that the average Call of Duty, that just a regular Call of Duty person that wants to play COD will buy an Xbox. The problem with a lot of PlayStation guys, especially the ponies, is they think everybody likes their console. The reason I can say that firsthand is because I saw the transition from Xbox 360 to Xbox One. The Xbox One in 2013 was just an extension of the Xbox 360. And I knew this since the 360. I told you guys this before, man. When I play my games on the 360, uh, the majority of my list plays specific games like Left 4 Dead, Call of Duty, those casual games that everybody likes, right? And then they would watch Netflix. That's it, because you could see right what everybody was doing. That's why at some point in time, oh, sorry, faded. At some point in time, what you would notice is that these guys um, they would not interact. You would lose people on they would be on your friends list, but you lost. And I'm not saying I was in contact with a lot of them, but they just weren't there anymore, right? And so for me, when the Xbox One came on, and then I saw what they were doing, especially with the television. Now something could be said about the television because television is dying, but I'm pretty sure Xbox could have transitioned to streaming because they're doing that now. I mean, look, hindsight 2020, right? It's easy to say that because we're where we're at now, but I mean, I'm just being honest, guys. Sorry, guys. I'm going to shut this down real quick. What's up, Tool Man? Thanks for being here. But I agree 100% with you. Sorry, I agree 100% with you. And that's what's going to help Microsoft. This is why I want them to buy everything as much as they can. I mean, Microsoft will do it smartly, right? They'll see what works for their ecosystem, what doesn't, and they don't have to own every single person. But some of the moves that they made, I'm pretty sure they worked out deals with Humble Games. Focus Entertainment. Like this is why you see some of their games, and it's like it's a relationship in those kind of in every sense of the word, because what it is they give Xbox Game Pass the games day one, and of course they make the money on it. I'm pretty sure Microsoft works out money, whatever that aspect is. I don't know how much they pay them. I don't know. We're not privy to all of that, but I'm pretty sure one of those things, because what you see with a lot of these people that have put their games in Xbox day one Game Pass. If you look at these studios like Paradox and stuff like that, I'm not saying that they didn't exist, but what I am saying is that they've expanded their operations, right? So Focus right now, I didn't know, and if I'll use Necron as an example, because I actually bought a couple of the games not knowing who they were. It was just the premise of the game, and it looked interesting to me. Something that was a little bit outside the box. So like after that, like I bought Clash. It's supposed to be like an action adventure, open world fighting type game. Um, and it just looked. I love the art style, and the premise was good to me. That was good enough for me to purchase it. And then when I was getting heavy into, or looking when I was researching RoboCop, which a lot of people, as you know, they love it, right? I was looking at RoboCop, and I didn't know that was made by the same, or where the publisher was from, right? Until I watched their showcase, and Sherwood. I was doing heavy research into Sherwood, or that's what it was, Sherwood. That I was looking at getting that because I like the look, and I love the look of the game because I told you guys in a previous video it reminded me of Fable Legends, which Microsoft canceled back in the day. And so when I saw Sherwood, it reminded me of that from the narration and everything. Now I don't know how the game truly is because I haven't bought it yet, but I'm definitely gonna get it. I'll probably get it today and then give it a run through. We just have so many games, right? But that's the power of Game Pass to me. It's not just about it is the subscription. I said that and stuff like that, but it's another way. As Hebot says, right? It's a glorified demo disc, is what it is. So it allows people to kind of come in there, try something out, but it gives exposure to some of these smaller studios, man, that want to make a name for themselves. And I'll say this, man. I mean, I still believe Microsoft is going to pick up Sega eventually. Even though all the news reports and stuff are coming out, just keep in mind that when Microsoft talks about this kind of stuff, they can't really say. Right, you got a reckless government regulatory body trying to bring them down for whatever reason. It's just like the government is at war with big tech, which is interesting because the government itself is big government, right? They themselves have issues. If they're looking at everybody else trying to regulate them when they should regulate themselves. These guys are out of control. And so you have Microsoft, they're not dumb, right? This is why they have their lawyers and the people that analyze all this stuff. Right, they can't just come on and say certain things, I'll be the first to admit, dude, you guys see my game of tag say forever. I could be on the hopium as well, but I'm just telling you guys why I think it is and why it don't work out. One of the biggest things to me was that trailer drop that they did during the Game Awards. Right, I didn't see it till later, and then when Hebot was on the podcast, I believe it was Unlimited podcast, and he was talking about it, man. I could tell because Hebot's a big Sega fan as well, so Sega man. And I saw that, dude. I saw his reaction. I was like, dude, I gotta check this out. I didn't even know that it dropped. And so I just went to their homepage and checked it out. They had the trailer drop there, and then eventually it would make its way online. And when you bring in back those type of games and you're redoing them for modern audiences, or you're doing a remake of a classic game, and who knows what they're gonna do with these brands, right? Could be phase one of what they look. I know Sega has big plans, right? But if you have big plans, it takes big money. And a lot of people are asking why now. I said, well, they probably got a cash injection, right? And I'm pretty sure that cash injection is coming from Xbox. I mean, I think we'll see. I don't know if we'll see every single game, but we'll see games dropping there day and date, right? And then with the potential of, and this is another thing people don't talk about. You have the potential of Xbox probably making deals like, not Diablo, what's that other game? The Dungeons and Dragons game that came out, Baldur's Gate 3. It wouldn't be surprised me if it ends up in Game Pass sometime next year, and that's when I'll play it, guys. Because like I said, I'm not a huge RTS fan, and it just blows my mind that game got as popular as it is. I could be wrong, but to me, it looks like the whole Final Fantasy VII again. That experience I had where people bought the game but nobody finished it, hardly played it. Because when they played it, man, and I'm telling you from firsthand experience, people bought this game, right? Because when you watched the commercial back in the day or you saw the trailers, it looked amazing. But when you actually play the game, right, it's not like the trailer at all, right? Those are all cutscenes. And so this is how I could discern people that were gamers and not gamers. You know, a lot of these, so they just would go back to playing Madden. That's what they were doing. They played. They'd be like, oh man, this game is not. You know, because they're not gamers, right? They don't. At its core, Final Fantasy is a turn-based game. So, um, you know, the video, of course, the opening cinematics and stuff like that. Then when the game kicked off, they're like, oh, what is this, right? And I'm not saying that's everybody. They could have made fans off of that, right? Because that's the kind of another great thing about Game Pass, right? You're going to play certain games you would never play, and then you can become a fan of a different genre of game just based off of that game, and then you do like you could become a gamer from that, right? Because what you might do is you might do research on it, and you might try other games. That's the promise of Game Pass. This is why I say Game Pass is a game changer. It's not just because it's cheap and variety; those are important, right? And especially to the average consumer. But the potential of what you have of growing the video game fan base. You know what I think gaming is trying to avoid, and with Microsoft, and I'll even say I think Microsoft is very cognizant of it because they have a lot of people that work at Microsoft that actually play games. That is, you know, we're not like the Sony side where these guys are corporate people, and you need a corporate person with that type of mentality. But you can get a corporate person to help with in the background, but you need somebody that understands the lifeblood of gaming, right? And with Phil Spencer and especially Sarah Bond, I mean, she just posted some stuff out on Twitter today talking about she's doing that countdown to Christmas where she's putting up these games. She's talking about her first gaming experiences, right? And so what you have in Microsoft is people that are really trying to save gaming from going extinct, right? This is something that the comic book industry tried to do, but the comic book industry got inundated with a bunch of psychotic activists with no talent. It's okay to be a psychotic activist, right? Because you had a couple people like that in the comic book industry, and some of them are some of the best writers and artists, right? But then what happened is, but the difference is they have talent, and what you have now is a bunch of people that are psychotic with no talent, which is a bad combination. But yeah, great comment, fitted. 100% agree, dude. These guys are casual to the bone. Yeah, hey, too, man. Yeah, I saw your thing, dude. These guys are still cutting the grass, man. Oh, they're trying to edge the sidewalk, dude. It's like a small square of grass. It's funny. Ah, and those are my neighbors, man. I love them, dude. They're the best neighbors to have, man. I'm telling you, I'm not, but it just blows my mind. It's funny, man, because when I first moved here, we didn't have grass in our yard, and I would water the rocks and stuff like that, and they'd be like, "Oh," they make jokes about it, and then over time, right? You know, the reason why I do that is because there's dust, right? And over time, they'd have to like clean off the sides of their houses, and they're like, "Oh," and they told me one time, "Oh, why aren't you don't you have to power wash your thing?" I'm like, "Nah, dude, I just watered the. You just have to shoot down the rocks every once in a while." And they're like, "Oh, is that what you did?" And I'm like, "Yeah." My dad used to work for the city and county, dude. He worked World Division. He knows all the little tricks. So he showed me all that stuff, whether I wanted to see it or not. Yeah, and I'll just say I didn't volunteer to work with my dad around the house. T, hey, what's up, T? No, that's fine, bro. I mean, this is spontaneous. I mean, if you wanted to jump in, I could send you the link. I'm actually waiting for my cousin then to show up. He'll probably be here in another hour and a half. Um, I don't have my kids because my kids have to go see other family. So I have to sit on. It's just like yesterday, dude. I have to sit on my chair because my cousin's coming, man. I want to be able to kind of like move around a little bit. But this chair, man, this is probably the best thing I ever bought, and I bought it for like I think it was like 79.99. And it's just the way that it's built, man. Because I've tried chairs that are built for lumbar support, man, and I don't know if it's because of my height, the way my legs are, the width of my body. I'm a kind of wide guy, and just this chair is just perfect. Man. It just it leaves. Even when I lay down or prop my legs up, man, it doesn't feel good over time. But this is the only thing I can sit in, and it applies the right amount of pressure, man, to my lower back that takes away the pain. Because the one thing I do not want to do is re-injure, like have like a spasm or something like that, and then have my back lock up. But yeah, dude, I mean, Merry Christmas though, man. Enjoy your family, dude. That's way more important than this stuff. I'm telling you. Though I appreciate you guys being here that are here. And newsflash, PS5 only sold 25 million, Xbox Series sold 24 million, not a 3-1. Yeah, I yeah. That's why I like T, man. T just spits it out there. But I believe that T. I'll even question the 25 million. Because and you guys are like me, man. You guys understand this, right? If it was truly that it's bad news either way for Sony. If they sold the 15 million consoles like they're claiming they did, then their problem is the ratio of games sold to consoles sold, which has always been a big indicator for me for years because I'm like, dude, this makes no sense. And the only reason, again, I say that, man, is just like if you're a toy collector, right, or a figure, or you collect, if you do collectibles, and you guys remember KB Toys, right? So KB Toys is where I would go to buy my figures, man. I just love the way they used to have it set up, and it was always in an accessible area, right? But you go over there, and so their prices would be sometimes higher than like a Toys R Us or other places you can get it online. But because it was right there and I supported them, I would just buy it, right? So like they would sell stuff for like 14.99. But another kicker was if you would go in there, they would have figures on sale. But the problem with KB Toys, and I knew they were in trouble, is because when you release a toy, right? If the toy is hot, people will go and buy it no matter what. And then later on, if you have back inventory, you sell it at a cheaper price, but then you would use that, right? It's just what stores do, right? They would use that as a selling point. Like this is why there's a Black Friday. You get people in, right, to sell other stuff, right? And especially if it's Black Friday, right? There's people will just buy it because they need to get something. There's all kind of stuff going on Black Friday. But as far as KB Toys, right, because of the strength of other brands, they were able to take some losses on stuff that wasn't selling. And then they would sell the usual things that they know most people would get, like board games and stuff. They had a pretty good system going on. But what ended up happening was this stuff was getting more expensive. And then, of course, if you guys know the background of KB stores, what they got into debt, just because of the way the market was and the way the consumer was spending. So it's kind of like what's going on with a lot of businesses today. So eventually, right, I would go in there and I was looking at the Penguin stuff, right? They came out with a Mario Lemieux. McFarlane came out with a Mario Lemieux figure, so I went and bought that one. And then a couple of weeks later, because I just bought one, I just bought the Mario Lemieux, and I was gonna buy the Yarmir Yager, but I had to buy other stuff for the Spawn line. And so then I came back like a week later. I was like, okay, I got paid. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick up Yarmir. And I think it was like a week and a half, dude. That thing was cut in half to like $6.99. And I was like, oh, cool. So I could buy that and other stuff. But over time, they kept on doing that. So what ends up happening, you keep on doing that, dude. You know that they're losing money, right? And that's what I mean about the ratio, right? Another good example is movies, right? We all know about movies, right? We grew up as movie files. So that opening weekend they always talk about, and then that second week drop off is the two things that they look at the most, because that's when they're going to make their money, right? And the economy of movies, I think it's actually more brutal than actually video games. To be honest with you, for all the talk about people talking about how much it takes to produce a video game now, a lot of that to me is just poor budgeting. There's reasons why this stuff is so expensive, but it's not for the reasons people think it is. It's just poor budgeting, that's my personal opinion. But when you take all these other industries, and we're all in pop culture, CDs are the same, music. This is why most stuff digital, right? Everything's going digital, right? So you can look at all these kind of things. Gaming is no different. So you have to make a certain amount of sales, right? And so for me, if they're selling 50 million consoles, but they're only selling like 2-3 million dollars on the game, or two units moved for that console, and then you have the media saying that's good, right? The determining factor is how much are they making, the profit that they're making, and that's why the Spider-Man league is so big, and that's why it makes Sony look so bad, right? Because the understanding, and this is sad in the gaming media, because you see these guys are totally they got totally blindsided by this news, and this is why they became defensive. This is how you can tell which media outlets are really pony infused, because they got defensive. They're acting like people do act on Twitter, and when you're a professional, supposedly, and I know these guys aren't journalists in the traditional sense, but they kind of are, right? Because they report on their gaming media, so I throw them in there. So there should be a level of personal responsibility, professionalism that they should maintain, which they don't. And I don't blame them either, because the regular mainstream media doesn't do that at all. All of these people are all up in their feelings. Um, but yeah, T, that's a good. That doesn't surprise me at all. I can't wait for that. Like I say that all the time. I can't wait for that other shoe to drop where they expose that Sony did not sell that many consoles. Like you're saying now, like officially. I know I'm not. I agree with your post 100%, but I want that official number to where Dustin Legary has to do a video, and it's kind of funny games have to do a video, and IGN have to kind of play it off, because that's how you know something's true, is when the way the gaming media reports and how they act on the reporting. And then you have their sycophant Pony Defense Force out there, right, trying to defend them as well, and they'll be rabid about it, right? They'll be all emotional. They'll call you all kind of names, right? Xbox sucks. Xbox is going to go third party. Xbox is not doing another console. Phil Spencer's going to get fired. What else we got? They got no games. game passes for welfare gamers. What is all the you guys know? I mean, you guys see it all the time. It's kind of funny, and now it's just hilarious at this point, man. And if you just learn to look at the patterns, you don't even have to look at the entirety of the information. Just watch the patterns. Everything is in cycles now, right? And then you're not even bringing in the big guns like the economy, right? Because the mainstream media doesn't talk about the economy. I know you guys are like me. You feel it, dude. I went to the store yesterday. I was gonna buy some pork chops, man. 2 pork chops were like $20. I was like, dude, you guys are out of your mind. And I understand why, because I went to the regular grocery store, right? So the regular grocery store, my first job was working at a grocery store, so I know how they operate, right? When you see that type of cost in the food, given everything that's happening with, shipping and all this kind of stuff, but the main killer for people here in Hawaii is the labor, right? Because you have to pay people a certain amount of money, and that's all factored into the cost of the food. Even when I do, there's stuff I need to get done around the house that I can't do. I need a professional. But because they're in such high demand, right? It costs so much money to get somebody to come out here, if they come out at all. So if you apply some of that stuff that you do just in regular everyday life, like how you got to pay bills and how many hours you got to work, or is overtime worth it, right? They put you in a different tax bracket, so you're gonna be paying more at the end of the year, or you might get audited. All these little things that you have to do as an adult, right? That are actually mean something. You just take a little bit of that and apply it to what's going on in the economics of gaming, and you don't have to be an analyst to realize what's going on with these guys. And again, that's why the Spider-Man League was so awesome, because the Spider-Man League basically showed on paper, right, that the cost of these games are spiraling out of control. And this is the sad part, man. Now everybody's sharing their Sean Layton video, where guys like me, he bought 100. Sorry for forgetting, but you guys know me, but we've been talking about this kind of stuff for years. Hebot's been talking about this stuff since I knew him, and he got a lot of hate for it too, from both sides, from both the Pony and the Xbox side. Yeah, thanks, T. But yeah, if you have time, dude, I'm here. Just let me know. I'll send you the link. I will say though that when my cousin gets here, then I'll probably just drop out. So I appreciate you guys for sticking around. But I know we all got stuff to do. It is Christmas Eve. I never thought I'd be doing a podcast on Christmas Eve, to be honest with you. That is going to happen with Sami. Sami Super Eve. Yeah, great point, Faded. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about that as well. This is something I think Marvel needs to be cognizant of, or not Marvel, but Disney needs to be cognizant. Oh, not Disney. Jeez, Microsoft, Xbox need to be cognizant of, because Disney, Marvel. I mean, I think they're on their last legs. If they don't turn the ship around, which is too late in my opinion, they're gonna die. And then you got Microsoft left holding the bag. Now I will say the advantage for Microsoft, um, and this is me not being an Xbox guys. I mean, and if you guys call me an Xbox, it's fine. But I'm just looking at it as clearly as possible. And when I look at how Microsoft is approaching everything with game development, I'm definitely going to be on the more positive aspect of these deals that they have. Um, because at the end of the day, guys, I don't think a lot of people, the console war stuff, the subterfuge of the console war, like, this is why we call certain people pony bots. They want these titles so they have something to war with. And unfortunately, you have people on the Xbox side that is doing it, and a lot of the reason why is because they want to be justified by the other side and the gaming media, which is absolutely sad. I don't think that way. This is why I went on my rant about Blade. Blade is only popular not because of the comic book character, but Wesley Snipes. I talked about that ad nauseum. Wesley Snipes put that character on the map. There's sometimes the same thing with Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man. Nobody knows who Iron Man is unless you're a Marvel profile. You know about the Marvel profile of Tony Stark and his background and his history, right? And that's what a lot of guys like myself do. We just didn't collect comic books. Dude. We got into the history of the comic book, and to so much so that we knew the artists and the writers, and we know the stories of Stan Lee creating it. Like I have a story I read by Stan Lee about Iron Man. The reason why he created Iron Man, dude, was kind of to go against the hippie mentality generation. You guys got to remember Stan Lee was a throwback, man, of the greatest generation, which was during World War One, World War Two, predominantly World War Two, right? So a lot of these guys in the comic book industry that created the majority of the golden and silver age actually were in the war. So that they had that life experience. And the reason why he created Tony Stark was kind of an affront to a lot of people at that time, of which it was funny because he actually got associated with a lot of these people because of his certain beliefs that he had. He was a very complicated guy, to say the least, but he talked about the reason why he did Iron Man. Tony Stark. Tony Stark was like a play on Hugh Hefner. So it's a pushback on that, and pushback in a way of like people trying to. It's a whole amalgamation of stuff, but he wanted to do it because it's an industrialist, and it was something that was outside of the box, something going against the grain, which is what Stanley was known for when he was younger. It's funny that he's getting canceled for that now. But this is the type of fan that would promote and keep a certain genre going, and that's not what you have with the Marvel fans now. A lot of them are built off the cinematic universe, which I'm not saying that's bad, right? But you got to look at things soberly when you're looking at that, dude. Can you build a franchise off of this? Can you build a gaming empire off of this kind of stuff? Like how Spider-Man has become synonymous with superhero video gaming as being one of the best, right? Whatever. Um, so and the only like I'm saying, the only reason why I'm kind of hopeful on Microsoft to do this is because they have the studios now to make something unique with these characters. It's just not something they're going to slap together, throw out there to pad their numbers like Sony does with Spider-Man, right? You could see something that's very unique with these characters that'll appeal to more than just people that like these characters in the comic books. Like it'll go across the board, right? Like that's what you saw with Harry Potter. If you guys didn't know, there's a campaign to cancel the. There's people out there that hate. Um, I can't remember her name. Anyway, the creator of Harry Potter because of her political views, her views on feminism, right? And so this is why you didn't see her at the Jeff Keighley's awards because that's the game that should have won Game of the Year in my opinion because it covered every single, it checked all the boxes when it comes to the Game of the Year. Not really Baldur's Gate. And Baldur's Gate won, whatever. That's what I tell you guys. I don't watch these stuff, but I mean, if I'm being honest, that should have won because it sold the most. It was the most popular game, and the one thing that it did as a game, it brought in people that are gamers and the casuals. That's very rare for a game to do that, and that's the power of their brand. But there were people trying to get that game canceled, and the brand was just too strong. And then, of course, from what I hear, the game itself, especially for the fans out there, like you may not be a gamer, but a huge fan of Harry Potter. But when you're brought into that world, you feel like you're in the world, and that's what that game did across the board. Right? You just go online and read it, and you see all the hate comments and how much it doesn't make any sense. But you see the people that really play the game. But it's really interesting when you're a person that really doesn't play video games. You kind of dabble in them and stuff like that, but you play that game and you get addicted to it. So, right, and then there's like regular guys in our group that you wouldn't think play, like Ewok, right? Ewok's like 100 as well, dude. They're very multifaceted. Dude. Deep down inside, they have a nerd gene as well. So, but when you see guys like that playing a game and talk about it, that's what I'm talking about. It reaches across all different types of spectrums, right? Yeah. So great comment. Creative Place. Yeah, Insomniac. Yeah, that's why I think it's funny. Everybody's calling them a Marvel studio now, not a gaming studio, but a Marvel studio. But look, that's the hand they were dealt. I mean, they threw in with Sony, right? They made probably one of their best games with Sunset Overdrive, as Unlimited said, his game of the last generation, which is true. It was an amazing game, and you can see it if you play Sunset Overdrive. You can tell it's a Sony game. And this is another reason why the whole console war thing, I understood the brand gamer that is a Sony person because they should have bought Xboxes to play that game. This probably one of the reasons why Xbox did a deal with them to expand their market because it plays exactly like all the crap that Sony fans talk about. Sunset Overdrive, we should have a Sunset Overdrive too, and we never got that because these guys do not play games. That's another thing back in 2013 that opened my eyes to everything that's going on in gaming. Disney, WB, and Hasbro are struggling right now. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, let's be honest. A lot of companies are, but specifically these guys because of what they're doing with their brand, and they deserve all of that. Hasbro, I kind of feel sympathy for, right? Just for the simple fact that they're based on the popularity of the product that is being put out. But they do dumb stuff too, right? What Hasbro should do is go to Disney and say, "Look, do we have a deal with you guys? And you guys are gunking up Star Wars brand and Marvel brand, which should be selling. They should be making cool buco's money in every Christmas, and they're not. And then they just laid off staff, right? They did. I was watching Clownfish TV. Shout out to them, Clownfish TV. If you guys want to get a pretty based videos on the industry, from the comics to the toys and stuff like that, because these guys actually worked in this industry. They know Disney left and right, and they have some pretty good takes on it. Well, they have really good takes on it actually. But they were talking about that how Hasbro had to open up their vault and release stuff. Disney's doing the same thing with their content, right? And the one thing they need to do, they won't, because they got a bunch of activist people running their upper offices and management. These guys that went to college got indoctrinated, and then now they're running these companies because they have a degree, but they're absolutely trash when it comes to business. And that's why these guys and the companies are suffering. They're losing not millions, dude. They're losing billions, not millions, not hundreds of millions. They're losing billions of dollars just because they're dumb, just because they believe that we need more inclusivity, even though these are American companies and America is the most diverse country on the face of this earth. You know what you should do? You should send some of these guys to China or North or South Korea or some of these East Asian countries. And then some of these places that you have, like they could come to Hawaii and see that, when you have a diverse culture, man, diverse cultures have issues too. I can speak from experience, man. I'm Hawaiian. I live in Hawaii. Dude. We have our issues here. We do have a lot of stuff that they would like as far as everybody gets along, right? There's a local culture here, but even that's disappearing, man, because of all the economic crisis. Because you have a lot of people that are here locally in Hawaii that are moving to the mainland because they can't afford living here in Hawaii. The average price of a house here is $1 million, and these aren't like mansions. These are like some of you guys would laugh if you see somebody asking 1.2 million for some of these homes. You guys would be like, no, this is some kind of joke. Nope. It's absolutely ridiculous. The cost of living here is ridiculous. The only thing that keeps us kind of sane, especially if you're local, is we have big families, so you rely on your families, right? But that brings a whole other set of problems, right? I'm pretty sure if you guys have family issues, right? Maybe you don't get along with that one sister, or you and your dad don't see eye to eye, and something like that. Like you live in the mainland, and maybe you was in Tennessee, but then you can move to Texas, right, or North Carolina. Right? You stay in contact with your family, but you're not there. You can't do that in Hawaii. It is like a total. It's even though Hawaii is modernized, it is a tribal culture here, and everybody that moves here, no matter what your background is, your race, your ethnicity, it doesn't matter, dude. Because of the pressures of living on an island or living on an island with island life, man, it can crush you. That's why some people, my friends, they wanted to live here, dude. Cost was the main reason, but a lot of them were like, dude, they're just not used to. Some of my friends left because they're like, they didn't realize how good they had in the mainland because sometimes they just like to drive, man. They like to drive across state lines and go places. You can't do that here in Hawaii too. You're stuck in the middle of the ocean, man. You get that island fever, bro. It drives you nuts. Thank God I'm a gamer. That keeps me busy. So, but that's the mentality that's killing them, dude. And until they change that, but in order for them to change that fate, they have to fire a whole bunch of people. I don't see that happening. Comic book industry problem is Sweet Baby Ink. Yeah, well, I mean, and then look, I also keep in perspective, Faded, that I'm older. So like I share some of the stuff, and maybe my daughter looks at some of my old stuff, and she's like, "Oh, because it's of my time, or the time before me that I enjoyed so much." But for the next generation, they might not have that same connection. Like, like I'm just used to people liking Kirby stuff of my generation because we grew up on Kirby, right? We grew up on Stanley and all this stuff, and we love that old style. When my daughter's generation looks at it, they grew up on anime, so there's things she thinks is cool, but there's a lot of stuff she's like, "Oh, okay, it's okay, Dad." And I roll with it, man. And I do that too because that's the next generation, man. My kids kind of give me hope too because they're very based in their thinking, and not because I shove my politics down their throat or because I have my principles and morals that I pass on to them, but it's just the way they are. And I find it amazing how much people in their generation are the same. Like the kids at their school and stuff like that, the way that they are. Because they were kind of forced into it, especially after the pandemic. A lot of them are going through, they have their own trials and tribulations to go through. Sometimes you need that in life, man. That what forges your generation and gives you your identity. This is why so many people dump on millennials so much. Um, and then a lot of people revere like the greatest generation. And I know people are trying to jump on baby boomers and stuff like that, but I'm what am I? X? I don't care, honestly. Another thing that people don't realize is that retail is taking away physical media and Sony is not getting paid by retailers. Yeah, that ties into their market. Yeah, great point, Faded. That totally for all these guys that are celebrating 50 million consoles sold. Um, because a lot of those guys have an old school mentality, and we have that on the Xbox side. We just don't sit over there and try and weaponize it, right? Like I just bought the Sonic, all my Sega stuff. I try and buy physical. Right? Some stuff I have to buy digital, because they didn't do a physical for at all. Some at all, and then some not. I think they only did it for PlayStation. I don't know. But if I can get my hand on a Sega game, I'm happy. What I should do is go and start buying the Microsoft stuff on physical. Just because I have still I still look I'm still a collector. I'm not hardcore like I used to be. I can't afford to. Number one, but number two, I just don't have the space. And that was the main kicker, man. I tried to do it where I was a little bit more like it forced me to be more selective. But at some point, the way I collect is like I like to have like I still do Funkos, right? Because they're still somewhat affordable. But I like the collection aspect of it, right? So there's certain what I did was I just started following certain brands. Like for Marvel, I don't do every single Marvel Funko Pop now. What I do is I do the classic stuff, like the throwback stuff. You usually find those at Walmart. So like I have the old school Juggernaut, the old school Colossus, old school Moon Knight. And but even though I did buy I forgot that guy's run that did it. Um, we have the Moon Knight in the suit. I didn't read that, by the way. Okay. To be honest, what it looks like is Embracer Group, Disney, and WB are about to have a firehouse sales. Yeah, I think I would like. I've talked about this before. I would like Xbox to work out something with Embracer Group because of the properties they have. And then there's the rumors of Microsoft really going 2013 and buying an entertainment house. And of course, Paramount popped up. And I think one of the reasons why is because of the way Microsoft. I'm not saying that it's going to happen or it could happen. Like I say, nothing's off the table though, and that's what it is. And of course, with Halo being produced there, of course, Paramount would be the one. And then all the news that's surrounding Paramount and WB. Disney, I think that's going to be in the Apple House. It, Microsoft has to be really careful, right? Because they are. I mean, the way they're doing things I think, are right. They need content, but I don't think they'll. And I don't, like I said, I don't think anything's off the table. So I think they're looking at all of this. And the one thing I like about Microsoft is like, hey, how does that help our bottom line? They'll ask themselves these questions before they even, before even we do, right? That's why sometimes people get caught off guard because it just happens when it does. Like with the AKB deal, nobody knew that was going to happen. It just seems so ridiculous, right, at the time. So, to be honest, what it looks like is Embracer Group, Disney. I'm sorry, just reading that to in my head. But I would think, yeah, I know everybody's huge on WB. The main thing is like, what if WB and Paramount um, combine? Then what? That would be definitely good. I've talked about EA. That was kind of funny when I saw that story where EA's Sony guys are like, "Oh, we're gonna buy EA." I'm like, whatever, dude. You can't even have a Bungie. How are you gonna handle EA? You're just gonna end up wrecking them. There's only one company I see that can do EA. And when I say that, people are like, "Oh, but Microsoft already said." Look, Microsoft says a lot of things, dude. There's a lot of stuff going on. So again, nothing out of the realm of possibility when it comes to Microsoft to me. EA again, I mean, it's not. I don't even play EA games for the most part. I like some of their stuff. I don't play any of their sports stuff. I don't like Madden. Never did. Um, but the reason why I'm saying that is because they have sports franchises. Man. You put that into Game Pass, and then you pretty much got everything covered, right? Because Microsoft has a variety of genres under their belt already, and then you add that to the service, that just adds more value, in my opinion, right? And like I said yesterday, I would love to see them do an online store with these huge titles. Again, I'll use this as an example because you see Fortnite doing it right now, right? They have games within games, and Microsoft has been kind of doing that. But of course, Fortnite with how huge it is, right? It'll definitely. And I think that's the way the industry is going. And as you guys know, Microsoft is looking at that. What kind of action they take, I don't know. But to me, if they do that, and because you want people to be in your ecosystem, and you want people to stay on your service, because that's the reason why WB, not WB, but Paramount and everybody who streams outside of Netflix figured out the model, and they were the first. So always to the pioneers get the spoils, man. They were the first one to do this, right? So rightfully so, they deserve all the kudos, right? That's just the way the world operates. Um, but they just didn't sit on their laurels, man. They made some mistakes. They learned from those mistakes, man. And that's what they did. They just constantly tried to, just try it, and they did. They built up the better mousetrap. Now I don't say never, or nothing's indestructible. But right now, they are untouchable when it comes to streaming, and I can't see anybody catching them. This is why I did that video, like when the rumors was coming out that Microsoft would want to buy Netflix. To me, that would be a huge boom for them. But again, um, this is just us talking out loud, man. This is what fandom is, right? Like Xbox has a fandom now, right? And that's good to see, man. This is why we can do these podcasts and people will listen. That's what I've been saying. Hey, what's up, Shinzo, man? That's what I've been saying about Spider-Man 2. All these people didn't care until it was a PS exclusive. Yeah, 100%, right? Because all you have to do is start talking to them about the history of the catalog. And I'm not even talking about the comic books. I'm just talking about video games. And a lot of them are very limited in the games that they played, or even that they know these games existed. Like for me personally, my favorite, I say one of my favorite, but it is up there on the list is Ultimate Spider-Man for various reasons. And the reason why I like some of these games is more because of the comic book side of things, right? Like when I grew up, you didn't really have like really good superhero comic games, and even the movies, right? I think games did a little bit better than the movies. It took a little while, but at least with the games, right, you can throw yourself in there. So like the Spider-Man on Sega CD was like one of my favorite Spider-Mans, right? And for stupid reasons too. When I tell people, they're like, "What?" It's like Mr. Big. If you guys know who Mr. Big is, right? The dude did the soundtrack. Man, I love that soundtrack on that game. And then what it was is one of the first games that you go around and then I like the rogue gallery that they used. The pacing of the game, right? You felt like you're Spider-Man somewhat. I mean, it's limited technology back then, but that's what we had. But one of the great things you could collect comic book covers, right? And then you could look at them. Again, that's my background, dude, is the actual comic book. So for most people, they probably play that game. They're like, "What? Do you think this is one of the best games ever made?" That's what I'm saying. This is when your own personal opinion, you gotta kind of check that too. But I saw my son play Shattered Dimensions. I kind of fell off after the Spider-Man movies with after Tobey Maguire. What's that guy's name? Can't remember, dude. But he did that other set of Spider-Man movies. I kind of fell off from Spider-Man in the movies, and then I stopped reading comic books. Like I was off and on in comics, but it was weird. I was actually reading more DC stuff because of the whole Infinite line and some of the stuff they were doing with their titles. And then I was definitely in the indie market. But the problem with the indie market when I have comic books, man, is like you couldn't get every single issue, man, because of the distribution stuff, which is a whole big thing that came out like 4 or 5 years ago. That was a scandal for the comic book industry. I've enjoyed a lot of Marvel movies, but I was a comic fan long before they came out. Yep, just like me, Shinzo. Just like me. In fact, this is probably why like I was pleased with especially phases 1 through 3 because I didn't have high hopes. But when I saw the first Iron Man, it gave me hope, right, for what they were doing. Just because casting Tony Stark and some of the stuff. You go back and watch the movie. There's definitely, I mean, it was the movie they needed for that time. And it still stands up the test of time in some aspects of it. But they if we're being honest, like some of the stuff like Marvel Cinematic Universe is when you hear people talk about the villain problem because they don't go, they don't. It's hard to develop a villain, and Marvel doesn't have like Batman's Rogue Gallery is probably the best. So Iron Man has some great villains, but they have to spend so much time trying to develop this stuff, and it's just been and then now it's become like kind of a trope, which is sad. I think Thanos was probably their best one, if I be honest. I like Loki too, but I like him just more for the way that the actor played him than the actual character itself. And when you've read this Shinzo, you read comic books as long as we have, and you've seen the very best writers work on these characters. It's hard to hold a candle. I actually like the Red Skull from the first Captain America because I love the actor too. And that's another sad thing about Marvel that they wasted, man. They've actually because remember when they first started these movies, it was a joke, and the Hollywood critics were trying to destroy it. But after that, it was after Avengers was so huge they couldn't really do that. And then what happened was that when Winter Soldier came out, dude, they gave it more credibility. For what it's worth, if you want Hollywood's credibility, I don't. But you know what I'm saying? So that's how they ended up. They put in that work, dude. I give them credit for that. Oh, sorry guys, I'm losing the thing. Hogwarts was a wonderful game and really brought you into that world. Yeah, that's what I keep on hearing. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, and I'm surprised because I thought my daughter would want to get it because she grew up on the books. But she just plays Bethesda games now, and she plays Overwatch 2. And then she plays Honkai Star Rail and some of these other stuff that kids her age are playing. She's big into anime, that's why she does art. So that's kind of what her world is. So I was surprised she didn't ask me for it. Because when I was younger, dude, she read all the books, watched all the movies. Well, I guess maybe that's something that's her age, right? And then from you grew out of it. When you see Baby Ink ruin Spider-Man 2, I won't be buying it because of how they wrote that game. Talk about ramming things down people's throat. Really? Oh, Spider-Man 2, yeah. You mean from the movies, right? Yeah. Yeah, I just couldn't get Andrew Garfield. That's his name. I found him. I just didn't have any connection with him. Toby Maguire, you kind of could have because, and then they kept it like the formula. They didn't mess it up so much. But when I saw it, I know they were just trying to do something different. And you know what? I feel bad because I haven't even watched the last Spider-Man movie. I need to. Maybe I'll do that today. Maybe I'll go and watch. That's the one with Doctor Strange and then they warp the universe. I heard that one was good, but I don't know. We'll see. And that's the problem, dude. Ramming thing down people. So yeah, that's the problem with any type of pop culture stuff now, right? Again, it's the people that are running the industry, right? You're living out of a generation like when I was growing up, you wanted to escape reality, escapism, right? And then you didn't care, you didn't need to see yourself in there because you had your own life, right? So you lived your fantasies and dreams and whatever you wanted to through the prism of these larger than life superheroes, right? But now everybody nowadays, it just seems like the generation now is like they want to be the hero, they want to be. It's all about them. Kind of like the me. I know in the '80s we were called the me generation, but that was more because of excess and being like the greedy thing that was going. You know what I mean? It's all about yourself, that kind of stuff. But this generation is all about themselves. It's very vain, in my opinion. You see some of the characters when they revamp some of these cool comic book characters. You look at the way they draw them, you wonder why, and then the person that's either writing or drawing it does an interview, and you look at them, the character looks exactly like them, and you realize why. And it's just like, dude, that's such an affront to everything we grew up um, holding dear, man, to our hearts, and it's happening across all industries. They're even trying to take it international now, which I think is absolutely sad. But kudos to Japan, man. Hats off to them. Hat tip to Japan. Japan is like letting them know, no, we do things our way here. You're not going to come over here and upset our pop culture to make yourselves feel better. You keep that stuff in the states, and I'm sure there's some people in Japan that are kind of drinking the Kool Aid, but their industry is so patriarchal. Patriarchal. I don't see that happening at all. And it's just a. If we're being honest, man, it's just a sense of national pride because that is theirs. They export that. America used to do that back in the day. We exported our stuff. In fact, our stuff influences other countries to this day. They take it and they make it their own, and they're getting better at it. Like I was watching this K drama, Monster of Gone Home. I can't pronounce the city, but it just came out on Netflix, dude, and it has an actor that I really like. And then there's a couple actors in there I like. Actually, I didn't realize everybody that got casted for that show, but I've been watching it nonstop, man. And it's basically a classic, old school horror movie that Hollywood used to do back in the day. You have a little bit of mystery, intrigue, some romance. The chemistry kind of is a little bit off, but nothing's perfect. But at the end of the day, man, it's just about instead of using Nazis, right? They use the Japanese Imperial Army because this is in South Korea, and it's like what we used to back. As I see some people apply it to Indiana Jones, maybe Temple of Doom has a Temple of Doom kind of vibe to it, right? But at the end of the day, it's just straightforward monster, and the monster, the good stuff, not the stuff we try and put out now. But I mean, if you like that kind of stuff, you do. I personally don't. But it's just that old school monster type storytelling. That's old school that I love, man. I don't have to worry about anything getting shoved down my throat, any type of people's agenda or politics. I mean, they have their own politics with it, but it's more in the traditional sense, in my opinion, like how Nazis. We just assume Nazis were bad guys, right back in the day, like when you watch Indiana Jones movies and stuff like that. But you didn't get hung up on that as much as the adventure, and that's what it is. When I watch this show, I'm getting hung up on more of the monster aspect of it as they're unveiling, because there's these secret experiments going on at this lab, and the execution is pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying I've seen better, right? But I mean, for what it is, and on Netflix as well, and just Japan, South Korea, dude. There's stuff coming out of India that I love. There's stuff coming out of Africa that I'm watching, and Middle East, Europe, definitely Mexico. They're starting to, or South America in general. And what it is that because of the way America is with our entertainment, it's so bad across the board. Um, you know, that gap, there's a big gap there. There's people filling out that gap. And the irony of it all is that the people filling out the gap is the people that grew up on the stuff that we created way back in the day. Like if you watch any K drama, it just reminds me. I said this on the channel before, but it reminds me of like Falcon Crest and Dallas and General Hospital. Not on that same level of American sappiness when we did that kind of stuff, but as far as the the way the storytelling is, the structure. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? The scripting, right? The traditional roles of stuff back then. But the kind of cool thing about South Korea is you get a new experience because it's a different culture, right? But at the end of the day, whether it's Japan and South Korea and stuff like, and I'm not saying everybody would like this, right? Because some people, I know people that would love the shows, but they can't get over the subtitles, right? And then when they watch the dub, they don't like it either. I don't like anything dubbed, right? I like all my stuff subbed. I can read fast. That's why I don't have a problem. Plus, if I like it so much, I'll just go back. And look, I have an affinity for Asian pop culture. So I used to be Japanese pop culture because I'm old, man. Back in the 80s, Japanese pop culture was a huge thing. And then, of course, as a gamer, right, they dominated. They were dominators of the industry because they influenced the industry. And some would say saved the industry was a Nintendo. Right? But Japan is a great example of a country that does these kind of things, but then they make it their own, and they're making it their own. They create their own type of culture off of it. If I end the podcast abruptly, guys, it's just because my family came by. So please bear with me. But yeah, Shinzo, great, great post, man. That's what it's all about right now. And I don't know if it's gonna get any better, man, because we've had decades of indoctrination of these people, man. Look, when things are good, like I said, right, there's a void that needed to be filled, and people won't wait for the U.S. to do it. There's other countries that are more than willing to grow their industry and fill that void and maintain their own principles and morals within their stuff, regardless of what the people online that want to cancel them are going to try and do, because they don't live here, and it doesn't impact them, and it's for their culture, right? In fact, I forgot the name of the guy, but he's like a big anime dude. I feel bad that I can't remember his name. If I said it, a lot of you guys who follow anime will know who it is. But he came out and basically said that. He's like, look, dude, we make this stuff the way we want to make it, and there's people that'll gravitate to it. And if you don't gravitate to it, well, then find something else. And that's what Marvel needs. This is what Disney Marvel needs to be telling people, right? But what had happened is, like I said earlier, man, these guys have inundated the industry. So they're the ones running the ship. And this is what the activism has been going on since the 90s, since I've known. Trust me, I know, man. I have that in my family. Right, where people are getting involved with the politics and getting, because they want to make these changes. The problem with that is that's not the system, right? So they're going in to infiltrate the system and in turn destroy the system, but that's their goal, whether consciously or subconsciously. They think they're making the world a better place. They're not. Like it's the same thing with all these games and stuff like that. They said, no, we want inclusivity, we want equity and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's just ideology that they're just putting in there. And the sad thing about it is most people, a normal person would be like, well, I don't care about that and just walk away. Right? But what these guys is like, they see that you don't want it and then they'll just, like you said, they'll just ram it down your throat. And they'll take the entire industry that they claim to love and they'll just let it burn with it. In fact, what Tom Brevoort said that recently. I believe he's the head of Marvel Comics. If it wasn't him, was that other guy? Well, one of these top artists and stuff. This has been in the industry for a long time, which is ironic, right? Because these guys are saying they want diversity and they're like old and white and been in the industry for years. And not that I care that they're white or the definition of color, just the hypocrisy, right? Because if you believe in diversity and that people of color are not getting a break, then why are you there? Give up your spot. And that's the problem with a lot of these guys, dude. They don't practice what they preach. They'll sit there and their virtue signal all day, telling you what you should and shouldn't do, but they still fly the planes. Right? They still spend the money. They have elaborate houses and mansions. They made their money. They don't care. They'll never be affected about it. These are the same people that tell you guns are bad, but they have a security force. Right? They never live. They never practice what they preach. They don't live their gospel. Right? Which is why all of this stuff is hypocrisy and why it's falling apart. Right? Because they would rather see this industry burn and all this stuff die, because instead of them giving people what they want. Because it's about the message. I watch Critical Drinker. You guys don't watch him, go check him out. He's pretty funny. But he has this thing where he says, the message. Right? It's a psychotic ideology where people want to tell you what to do is what it boils down. I saw this really great post on Twitter where somebody pointed out it's like it's not politics, it's not right versus left, it's not Democrat versus Republican. It's basically people that want to be left alone versus people that don't want to leave you alone at the end of the day, right? Because no matter what politics it is, no matter economically and stuff like that, that's what it basically is. A lot of these people that I see in charge were the same people you would hate in high school. The busybodies, the hall monitors, the people that would like have a comment, instead of just minding their own business. At the end of the day, right? These are the people that are running the country now. This is what the FTC is, dude. This whole thing. That's what the great thing about the whole AKB deal is for a lot of people. Right. For me, I already know this stuff, right? But for people that don't keep up with this stuff, they see that and they're like, why are they doing this? Game Pass is a good deal. I thought they were for the consumers. All of these people are starting to ask these questions, and then the gears start twisting, right? Because at the end of the day, when it affects somebody, that's when it's going to be the most. People are gonna make those changes in their life, right? They're like, oh, dude, like when you go to the grocery store and you're paying so much money, then you start looking at why. Why is this so bad? Why is things like, oh yeah, the economy really isn't that good. And then, oh yeah, we are getting more jobs, but we lost so many jobs. Or people that work 3 jobs because they have to, right? I know guys that I work with, to make a living. They make pretty good money at their job, but then they do Uber on the side, stuff like that. And then you never know how you're owned. Everybody has different life situations. Maybe you're divorced, got to pay alimony. Maybe you didn't pay off your house. One of my saving graces is my house isn't paid off. I did a 15-year. We did it on a low interest rate, so we got a really good rate. The payments were higher, but we only had to pay for 15 years, so we saved like over 200,000 on interest. Right. So the cost of my house, which was relatively cheap, right, it's just a good time that we got it. It's like 200,000, 237,000. So I think we only paid 295,000 at the end of the day. And it wasn't me actually. It was my ex. She's the one that thought about it. So she's super good on that kind of stuff, and I was appreciative for her. But paid it off. So and I'm not saying I'm rich, man, but that definitely helps because I'd be out there, man. I'd be having to wheel and deal, man. You have to grind. And some people have to, man. So that's what it does. It opens people's eyes. What's up, Fireboss? Yeah, happy holidays, man. Hope you're having a good time in the South, man. It's been raining and wet, though the sun just came out. Though. That's good. It's good for the tourists here in Hawaii, dude. Because if you guys didn't notice, in Hawaii, our winter is rain and it's colder, which some people enjoy. But I'm not one of those people. I would not pay all the money to come to Hawaii just to get rained on and freeze and get washed out, get caught in the undertow, man, because the currents are heavy. This is when like the surf season and stuff kicks off. That's all. That's Hawaii is in the winter. So if you're coming here for sunshine and stuff like that, just be warned. And then if you come in the summer, dude, the humidity, you got to be worried of that. So we've been having it good for a while because we have trade winds. We're on an island, guys, so the winds whip around here and stuff like that. But the winds have been crazy too. So a lot of tourists. I mean, I just feel for them, man, because it's expensive to come here. Then you come in, you check in, you're at a hotel, might be sunny. Then you check in, you put your stuff away, you turn into your shorts or your swimsuit, and you want to go down to the beach. Then you go downstairs and it's pouring. There's a reason why Hawaii is green, guys. It rains a lot here. It has to. It has to rain a lot, dude. We have no water source. We have a natural aqueduct that everybody partakes of, and they keep on building here. Anyway, I want to get off on a tangent if I start talking about it. To be honest, my favorite Spider-Man game, Faded Blaze, is between Web of Shadows and Shattered Dimensions. Yeah, I feel bad because I kind of fell off of Spider-Man at that point. My son's played all these games, though. He loves it. I watched him play them. I agree, dude. They look pretty awesome. I wonder, do you think, I'm not sure if there's not Activision games, right? Like, do you think we could get them back compatible? If we do, I'll play them. Or I think we might have our own. I don't know, dude. I sold my stuff, dude. That's probably the worst mistake I ever made. This sounds selfish, but I want Microsoft to somehow buy Lucasfilms off of Disney so that they can own Star Wars. No, I would like that too. The only thing I would say, Faded Blaze, is they'd have to fire everybody, and that would be a good thing. Like maybe if they buy, like they get Disney, like maybe they get Disney as a whole and they have to get everybody, get rid of everyone, and that could be good and bad. You see that happening kind of with Activision Blizzard. With Bobby Kotick stepping down. That's what needs to happen with Disney. Like Bob Iger needs to go. He should have been long gone. He's the one that created all the problems, and they brought him back as a savior for that company, and he's the one that started all that stuff. That's why I said on my other videos, man, the most interesting thing about Disney, Disney Star Wars, Disney Marvel, is all the politics going on behind the scenes. It's more entertaining than the actual content they produce. That's why you don't need Disney Plus, man. You just follow them in the news and watch some of these guys on YouTube expose everything. they're in trouble, man. They're in deep kimchi, and the reason why is they will not course correct. Any average person will course correct by this point, man. But this is not Disney's mindset. They are that bad. They're that horrible, and they're gonna drag everybody down with them. I'm telling you. And it doesn't have to be this way, man. You've seen what Marvel was able to do in the first phases 1 through 3, and even Star Wars, even Episode 7. I like the start of that. I mean, I have no real problem with it. Kind of with some of the weird Force stuff that they did. I didn't even have a problem with Han Solo dying because I knew Harrison Ford didn't want to play the character anymore. Right? He always complained about it. So I'm like, okay, well, bye, good riddance. I love you, dude. You're one of my favorite characters, but if you don't want to do it, at least you went out that way, right? But what you didn't know is all the underlying stuff that they're going to build up to, man. How they're going to just take it and make it take away some of the canon of Star Wars in general. And I'm talking about the general stuff, not even the hardcore stuff that people do, and try and flip it on its head, right? Like and the warning sign was when Kathleen Kennedy and a lot of people involved in the upper management that makes these decisions wore shirts that said the Force was female. Anybody worth the lick of salt when it comes to anything geek or nerd understand that the Force is not female. The Force is for everybody. Right? This is what you did. You're able to identify with these characters, and not every single one of them, but you would find a character that you identify with it, and then that would speak to you. And that's why you love these characters. That's why some people are so upset right now because they found something of that character in them that they could identify with, and then they could live out their own story. This is why I love. Again, I say this about Starfield. I love Starfield for this very reason. Oh, and my cousin's here, guys. So I'm sorry to get to all the comments. While the comic book industry is failing, anime manga industry is on the rise. It's gotten so bad. Yes, faded. Yeah, that's the creator of Gundam. That's why I couldn't remember his name. Thank you for saying that. But I love the critical drinker speaking the truth while having a smoothly sitting. Yeah, he's funny, dude. And more importantly, you can tell he's a fan. Like a lot of the guys I listen to, they're getting heat now. But a lot of these guys are of that ilk, right? They understand the industry because they grew up like us in as fans first, and now are influencers. Hey, what's up, Anthony? Sorry, dude. Hey, I'm sorry it took me so long. Merry Christmas, brother. Please enjoy the celebration. Yeah, happy holidays, bro. Cheers to you. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna have to end it. And that's a great stream. That's my cousin calling right now. But I'll end it now, guys, and then I'll catch you guys on the flip side, man. Thank you guys for joining in. All right, see you guys later. Bye. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.